I had a good Thanksgiving. I guess, yeah, I guess I'll just get into that because there was no questions from last time. So this Thanksgiving was the first time that I spent it with Kat's family. I thought, hey, maybe it would be nice to do some son-in-law stuff, right? Be part of the family. So I went over to her place on Thursday, and while we were going over, I was like, "Hey, am I gonna be the only white person there?" And she said, "Yeah," and I said, "Okay, cool." And there's this video that I saw. It was this meme. It was like this tweet. Every Mexican family has that one white son, and it's this family function of like 30 Mexicans, right? And in the midst of them is just one white guy, and it's someone's boyfriend. And that's me. And he looks like the happiest guy there. He's so excited. And it wasn't quite that large of a function. It was just maybe, oh god, maybe like 10 people. But it was cool, and there was no, I mean, I joke about race, but there was really nothing except for one moment where I felt, okay, I'm not a super big eater. I don't have a huge appetite, which I actually lament, right? Because I love food. I love eating and tasting food. Put this on like a screen and broadcast in like a third world country, me saying that. I love eating and tasting food. But I'm not that hungry of a guy. I don't know if you've ever seen my physique, but I'm like 3% muscle and like 5% body fat. So I don't have a very high calorie demand. I kind of eat maybe like twice a day, and that's good enough for me. And I'll eat one time and I'll be full for like 7 hours. So we get there, and I'm already not like starving because I'd eaten like 6 hours before. I'm already not starving. Uh, and to their, I mean, the food was great. It was really good. They had this delicious ham. I love ham. I'm a pork guy. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, but I am a pork guy. They had this ham that was delicious. I didn't have any turkey because I'm not much of a poultry fellow. They had one of her cousins, I think, made this delicious, like, cheesy scallop potato. Excuse me. I burped. I burped because I'm thinking about it. Her mom made the spaghetti and meatballs. I don't know. Filipinos have this weird mishmash of cultural foods, and sometimes they're like, yeah, Thanksgiving is like spaghetti and meatballs. But great overall. And you know what? I'm gonna shout out. This might not be an incredible innovation, but it was the first time I'd ever thought of it. They had cranberry sauce, obviously, but someone they'd made this homemade cornbread. And I was like, cornbread? Yeah, I was already like kind of done with my plate. But I was like, I could maybe eat like a little cornbread for dessert or something. I ended up overeating and feeling like shit. And I thought, maybe the cornbread might be like a little bland on its own, maybe just like a little something with it. And I decided to put some cranberry sauce on the cornbread. And you know what? It tasted just like a berry pie. It was actually great. I would totally recommend it as like I don't know if you'd call it a budget, but like a makeshift, like a cherry pie, because the cornbread kind of does a lot to stave the sort of acidity, the sourness of the cranberries. So it's still got a little of that kind of that bite, that sour bite to it, but it's much more diminished, and you just get like a fruit flavor with a really nice sort of just bread, semi-sweet kind of bread flavor. And it was actually great. Like I could go for it again. So I would recommend that if you've got leftovers. I don't think anyone's got leftovers by the time this goes up, but maybe keep it in mind. Yeah, a little cranberry sauce on the cornbread goes really well, and it's a little bite-sized thing. Well, it's a couple bites, but yeah. So I ate, in my opinion, quite a bit. right? We're a leftovers family in my house. We've always got leftovers going on, and I had leftovers for breakfast. Usually like my routine is I make like a big ass meal, and then I eat maybe half of it for dinner, and then the next morning I eat the rest of it. That's what I do. I ate the rest of my quesadilla this morning after I woke up that I made last night. So yeah, I finished all my food, and they were like, "Oh, you want some pie?" And I was like, I'm a little full. Like, I don't know if I want to eat anymore. And her uncle was like, "You're already full?" And I was like, oh no, I'm like this skinny white boy with no appetite. Fuck. I'm embarrassing myself in front of all these POC. Nah, but I did eventually eat a little more, and it was too much for me. But I should not have eaten that much. Like I felt, I got hit by a semi truck on that one. But meeting her family was cool. I met some of her family I hadn't met before, like some cousins and stuff. I had prepared myself for the question, but I was kind of dreading it. And that was, we're just sitting there, and her uncle asks, so, they're talking to all the youngsters, because it's like me, her, and her cousins who are like around our age, they're in like college right now, and just, about what Kat's doing and all that, and her uncle goes, so Taigen, are you still in school? And oh God. It's the question. I try to prepare for it, but I never am. I feel like I've spoken before about the most embarrassing thing you can do is tell like a 40-year-old person that you do YouTube. It's the most embarrassing thing in the world until you're successful, until you make a lot of money doing it. It's always a toss-up. Some of them think that it's cool. Some of them are like, this is an Asian family, right? Like, they're gonna say, oh, you should be in college. You should really be getting a degree. Why would I go into debt for an English degree? That's all I'm gonna get, What else would I do? It's not worth it. I should just make videos about, I don't know, like, ill bleed or some shit. I'm getting off topic. That's that's always the response I'm scared of. And I was like, no, I actually don't go to school. And there's like this fucking, like, in the anime, when something big happens and you get the cutouts of all the characters' eyes, and they're like, pa-chow, 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 pa-chow. That's what I felt. And her uncle's like, oh, so are you working or something? And I was like, and of all people, Kat's mom runs defense for me. And she goes, oh, he works online. And I was like, oh. And I think for some reason, after her uncle heard that, he was like, oh, okay, cool, he works online. That's cool. And then he just like went back to his food. And I was like, whew. Shout out to Mrs. Kat's mom. She was my wingman in that moment. That was an immediate relief, and so the like parents and the older adults were sitting kind of separate from the children. It's so weird because we're all technically adults, but it's different, right? When they're 40 and you're 21. Thankfully, the conversation was allowed to be, and they were all speaking in like Filipino, so like I wasn't going to be in on that conversation. That was basically like, I just saw that stupid The Family Guy Godfather clip. I can't understand just like to speak a different language. And Kat goes, yeah, they're speaking Filipino, Taigen. It's a language of subtlety. Anyway, yeah, but her cousins were cool. I liked her cousins. It was much easier to talk to them about what I do. Just because, I don't know where this, it's so much easier to talk to someone who's, about that. And they were, oh, like, what do you do? And I thought it was kind of funny because one of them is, he's like, I guess a casual YouTube watcher. Like, I'm a very YouTube guy. Like, I'm a YouTube guy. I grew up on this stupid website. So he had like some frame of reference. So he's like, there's nothing against him. I just thought it was funny. He goes like, oh, so like, what kind of content do you make? Do you make like reaction videos, like gameplay? Like, oh, I make like little documentaries on gaming stuff. I don't know, for some reason I thought that was so funny to get like a casual person's idea of like what a, because when you say, like, I always hate it when Kat tells people she goes to school with, like when she tells her classmates or her teachers that like, oh, her boyfriend does YouTube. Because, like, hearing my boyfriend makes, like, gaming videos on YouTube, what I imagine is a guy with a channel that has, like, 20 subs, and for the past 5 years, he's been uploading unedited 6-hour VODs of him playing some RPG on the GameCube. And he's like, I don't get why my channel, every video gets, like, 2 views. And he's like, I don't know why my channel isn't growing. No, I've been uploading, like, really frequently. But also, like, I don't want to show people my channel. It feels embarrassing. So, maybe I could show them the main channel. I could not show them this podcast. I feel like I would get, dude. When I was at GDC that one time, when I met some people, and I was like, oh, they would add me like, oh, do you have a LinkedIn? And I was like, no, I do have a LinkedIn, but I haven't updated it since like since I was like 18 or something, 18 or 19. I don't use it at all. So I'm like, I have a YouTube channel, and they would look it up, and one of the most recent videos was the fucking Brad Stallion series video, which is called Soft Locks, Hard Cocks. And I have to, like, explain that to these, like, grown adults. And they always thought it was funny. It was just like, oh. What was I talking about? Right, it was just, I don't know, it was easy. And they thought it was cool. I don't know. It was a good time. It was a nice Thanksgiving, relatively uneventful outside of that. Oh, there was an event. Kat's brother spoke to me for the first time in 3 years or about 2.5 years since we like sort of met. He never talks to me, even though he lives at home with them. But he did, and you know what the context was? It was. They were talking about Valorant, and one of her cousins looks over at me and he goes like, oh, Taigen, you play games. Do you play Valorant? And I said, no, I never really got into it. And her brother goes, don't. And that's the first and only thing he's ever said to me was to not play Valorant. Yeah. Oh, and then Kat wanted me to tell this story. So I'm usually, I don't drink, and I kind of prefer, and Kat doesn't really, she has like 1 sip of alcohol a year. She's like not a drinker. So, but like, I've told her like, hey, yeah, I just kind of would prefer if you didn't like drink around me or something. But it was, I don't know, it was like Thanksgiving, and I was like, okay, whatever, fucking do it. What, I don't care. She apparently referred to this as house training to her friends, which, like, fuck you for that. That's fuck you. And we got back to she didn't even finish her drink because she has zero tolerance for alcohol. And I think she got like 0% buzz. She took like 2 tiny little baby sips, and she's like, her uncle just finished the rest. And we were waiting, when we left, we were waiting by the car for like her mom to come, like, their mom and her brother to come back and join us. And it was just the two of us, so I like gave her a little kiss, and I was like, oh, thank God I can kiss you now. And she was like, what? And I said, like, yeah, earlier your breath like reeked of alcohol, and it made me nauseous. It made me want to throw up. and straight up, like, if you want to drink, you can't kiss me. Like, I won't do it. I'm gonna be sick. And she thought that was really funny. So that's my house training her. Is okay, but if you want to kiss from me, then you can't have any alcohol. I'm not gonna do it. I felt a little bad because I tried most of the dishes there, but her cousin made this squash soup, and I didn't have any. Not because, well, I do have something against squash. I'm sure it was good. Everyone said it was good, but I cannot. There's two foods that my body will not accept me getting down, and that's cooked spinach and squash. I've tried them before, when I was a kid, when I was older, as like a teenager, and I'm not kidding you. Okay, so when I was a kid, I hated vegetables. I still have a strong dislike for most vegetables, but I mean, I've come around to more of them now. But when I was a kid, I was like, I hate vegetables. But for some reason, I thought I saw on, like, I don't know. For some reason, I must have seen on TV cooked spinach in some context, and to me, it looked good. And so I asked my mom if she could make some for us for dinner, and she was really excited. She said, "Oh my God, Taigen wants to try some vegetables." I'm maybe like 9 or 10 at this time. "Oh, Taigen wants to try some vegetables." So she makes some for dinner, and I'm all excited, and then I get it in front of me, and first I notice the smell. I'm like, well, it doesn't smell very good. But, you know, whatever. I asked for this. I'll try it. I'll eat it. And I'm not opposed to trying new foods. I never have been. I'm actually not a picky eater. I just have, like, you know, preferences and tastes. Most vegetables just taste like shit to me, so I don't like eating them. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'll put it in my mouth, and I take a spoonful, and it is immediately so rancid to me. It is so gag-inducing. I had to, like, super focus. I had to go into, like, my Zen mode just to swallow it. And I shit you not, while I was swallowing it, I think it was so repulsive to me that my body, like, something in my brain assumed that I was, like, trying to eat, like, fecal matter or something like that. This is a gross story. I'm sorry if you're listening. This is a gross food story. Because it gets worse. Like, it must have been that same kind of response where your brain is like, dude, it's a code red. We got to get this shit out of here. It doesn't even get down my throat. Like, I don't even finish swallowing it before I just, like, uncontrollably, like, I had it was just like an involuntary muscular, like, spasm motion. I just like fucking like railgun shot that shit out of my mouth. If there was no spray, there was no spread. It was like, it made like a perfect straight line across the table. It was like a streak, like a charge rifle. And it was like, oh my god, fuck. It wasn't even, does that even count as vomit? I don't know. It's just pure flat out rejection. It's the most visceral response I've ever had to any kind of food ever, was spinach. I just could not get it down. And we were like, well, I guess Taigen doesn't like spinach, because it's such a bad. Okay, and then the other thing was squash. Squash I was able to eat when I was at my friend's house as a kid. I also had a similar experience where I was like, oh yeah, I'll try some squash. I don't know what squash is. Let me try some. And it was either, I don't remember what it was, if it was cooked or in a soup of some kind or something like that, but I tried it, I ate it, and I did not like it, but I did eat, I sampled it, and within 10 seconds I threw it up. Like, it just came straight out of me. My body would not stand for that kind of insult. And it's like, it sounds really childish, right? It sounds really immature, but it's like, no, I cannot accept certain foods like that. Funny enough, I do like spinach on pizza. I quite like spinach on pizza. It might be because it's just prepared a different way, or it has like fats and greases that kind of saturate it, which makes it like I seriously just think it's the taste. It's like the taste and the smell and the texture. And if you just remove all that, like, the stuff that makes it spinach, then it's fine. But I looked at that squash soup and I was like, oh, I feel kind of bad for not trying it because he made it and everyone liked it, but it would be more embarrassing for at least one of us if I tried it and immediately threw up. Like, I don't trust myself not to do that, and I don't want to test it out if that would happen again. I don't want to test out that theory at the first Thanksgiving that I'm spending with her family.